did it! We made it to the end of season 3, finally. The season that started off in 2 years ago in the Leeds Armouries and Tintagel Castle at Cornwall. Yep. Is now finally finishing here.
After 2 years.
After 2 years. It's the 2021 Christmas special of We Need to Talk About ... and finally the season 3 finale. I am the Big Daddy D, David Mabley, and I am not nice, I am not kind, and I am not wonderful.
And I am Luke Murphy, and as I get older, I seem to have more in common with Skeletor every year.
Yeah. So for this year's Christmas episode, we're going to go for something a little different. We are going to look at a very well-known Christmas special from the 80s. Now, some popular television programmes from that decade and the decade before would be a natural fit to have a Christmas special of. For example, Charlie Brown and Snoopy, Pac-Man, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Garfield, Casper, Bugs Bunny, etc. But then we have those franchises that, although incredibly popular, wouldn't put you in mind for a Christmas special because its characters live on another planet in another galaxy far, far away.
Oh god, no.
But luckily for Luke, I have already done a review of the Star Wars Holiday Special, so we won't be doing that.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
But, you know, maybe we'll save that for another year.
No, we won't.
So today, we are going to be talking about the one Christmas special that I've been dying to cover. He-Man and She-Ra, a Christmas special. But first, I feel that we are getting a little ahead of ourselves.
So what else is new?
So in order to fully appreciate the world of both He-Man and She-Ra, we need to go back to the beginning. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is an American animated television series produced by Filmation and based on Mattel's toy line Masters of the Universe. The show, often referred to as simply He-Man, was one of the most popular animated shows of the 1980s. It made its television debut in September 1983 and ran until 1985, consisting of 2 seasons of 65 episodes each.
The show was so successful that it spawned an animated feature-length movie, The Secret of the Sword, which would lead onto the spin-off series She-Ra, Princess of Power. This spin-off, which would only have 1 season, would follow the adventures of He-Man's long-lost twin sister, the Princess Adora.
Its lead character is Prince Adam, the young son of Eternia's rulers King Randor and Queen Marlena. Whenever Prince Adam holds aloft the Sword of Power and proclaims, "By the power of Grayskull," he acquires what's described as fabulous secret powers. And in doing so, he is transformed into He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Together with his close allies Battle Cat, who undergoes a similar transformation from being Adam's cowardly pet tiger Cringer, along with the Sorceress of Grayskull, Teela, Man-at-Arms and Orko, He-Man uses his powers to defend Eternia from the evil forces of Skeletor, who is determined to conquer the mysterious fortress of Castle Grayskull, from which He-Man draws his powers. If successful, Skeletor could have enough power to rule all of Eternia, and possibly the entire universe.
And as for She-Ra, it's pretty much the same storyline. The series follows the adventures of Princess Adora, Prince Adam / He-Man's twin sister, who leads a group of freedom fighters known as the Great Rebellion in the fight to free Eternia from the tyrannical rule of Hordak and the evil Horde. With her sword of protection, Adora can transform herself into She-Ra, just as Prince Adam can transform into He-Man. Born on the planet Eternia to Queen Marlena and King Randor, Princess Adora was kidnapped at birth by Hordak and taken to Etheria. There she served as a mind-controlled Horde Force captain before He-Man rescued her during the events of the Secret of the Sword. After reuniting with her parents on Eternia, She-Ra decided to return to Etheria and lead the Great Rebellion.
And what you've just had there is a very quick recap of Secret of the Sword.
Pretty much, yes.
Another future episode? Well, okay. Let's see how many views this episode gets. Mattel's subsequent attempts to relaunch the He-Man toy line also led to the short-lived sequel series, The New Adventures of He-Man. Oh dear.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is bad.
It's not good, but
yeah,
I do have a separate video planned on that in the near future.
You can do that one yourself.
Fair enough. This attempted to continue the series into the 90s, but it only managed a single season. There was later a rebooted He-Man series that first began airing on Toonami on August the 16th, 2002, referred to as the 2000X series by fans, and for many, one of the best iterations of the He-Man cartoon. In 2018, She-Ra got her own rebooted series on Netflix, and this year alone we've had two very separate, very different Masters of the Universe cartoon series going on Netflix, and there was a live action film that was produced in 1987, which we have spoken about before, in particular during our episode of Life Force, and I'm sure we'll speak about that again in the future.
Probably will do, actually, to be fair. The He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special, which originally aired on Christmas in 1985, ran for about 40 minutes, so it's twice as long as a normal episode of either He-Man or She-Ra. It would also include pretty much every single character from both cartoons' respective worlds, as we see here in the opening scene with all of the heroes at the Royal Palace preparing for Prince Adam and Princess Adora's birthday party. Queen Marlena comments that the festive decor reminds her of the great Christmas holiday she used to spend on Earth. Yes, that's right, just like Mr. Spock from Star Trek, He-Man and She-Ra's mum was originally from Earth.
Christmas? What's that? An Earth holiday?
A very special Earth holiday.
Weird that she's only just talking about this now. You're telling me this didn't come in conversation at least once during your married life? I mean, for Christ's sake, look at King Randor, just look at him. He's dressed himself up as the fucking Burger King, for crying out loud. The poor bastard's clearly desperate for a bit of attention.
Okay, clearly she isn't from Eternia. She can't fly, doesn't have a giant metal hand, her neck doesn't extend to about 15 feet. She hasn't even got a giant bee wings. So definitely, she's not one of the locals. It really must have taken Queen Marlena quite a while to get used to being a member of the royal family in a strange alien place, considering that it's perfectly acceptable in Eternian culture to greet the king without any trousers on, or to bring a giant human insect home for dinner. Now I know how Meghan Markle felt.
All of the characters are there, putting up decorations all over the place. Everyone from Snout Spout, who is essentially a He-Man figure with a giant elephant head, to Bo, who is essentially He-Man if he really, really loved Judy Garland. Most of the characters only appear in the background, and sometimes they aren't even animated. But it's still nice to see that a little more effort went into this special, rather than Filmation doing their usual thing of doubling stock footage of nameless Eternian palace guards or villagers.
Meanwhile, Prince Adam and Man-at-Arms are working on a new defence mission, the Sky Spy. This is a space shuttle that is intended to track down Skeletor's every move. I mean, I'm not sure if the lads are trying to protect the kingdom or just a couple of perverted voyeurs. What if Skeletor decided to have a day off and lounge around Snake Mountain in his dressing gown? Even the Lord of Destruction fancies some downtime every now and again.
Yeah, He-Man, it's my day off. You need to chill out, man. Trying to watch Netflix.
So, after finishing up, they head back into the palace to see how the party planning is coming along, and that's when Orko decides to hop into the spaceship and mindlessly fiddle around with the controls. But what's the worst that can happen? I mean, it's not as if Orko has ever gotten into any trouble before whatsoever by messing around with one of Man-at-Arms' inventions and pressing every button. Am I right?
Of course, like every other annoying cartoon sidekick from the 80s, whether it's Snarf from Thundercats, Uni from Dungeons and Dragons, T-Bop from Mask, Godzuki from the Godzilla cartoon, Orko does the inevitable thing that every annoying cartoon sidekick does, and fucks something up. Badly.
Orko inadvertently, but really was it inadvertently, starts up the ship, and there's nothing that Adam or Man-at-Arms can do to stop it, apart from them being the ones that designed and built this bloody thing.
That joystick came off in his hand very, very quickly, you know.
Shoddy workmanship, really, when you think about it. He's supposed to be Man-at-Arms. I mean, he's supposed to take pride in his work, and, you know, come on, please. Anyway, after Orko's flown the Sky Spy around the opening credits a few times, he gets the attention of Skeletor and his minions.
Yeah, for something that was intended to spy on Skeletor, he certainly spotted this pretty bloody quick. Skeletor's not quite sure what kind of aircraft this is, or who's flying it, but he wouldn't be Skeletor if he didn't try to fuck with it somehow. He's joined by a great group of baddies this time, a much larger amount than any previous episode typically has. Instead of having the usual lackeys like Beastman or Trapjaw or Evil Lyn, he's got some of the new toys, characters. We have Webstar, who is a bloke that is basically part man, part spider. We have Spycar, who is a bloke covered in spikes, so you really need to practice your social distancing around this guy. There is Ratlaw, who is one of the Snake Men and was part of a different group of baddies altogether in the toy line. And then finally we have Too Bad, because the best person to pilot your aircraft is a two-headed monster that constantly argues with itself. Great decision there, Skeletor!
Before Skeletor can succeed in bringing down the Sky Spy, both He-Man and She-Ra show up to save the day. Nobody's realised yet that Orko is inside the ship, but it's still an advanced piece of machinery that really shouldn't get into Skeletor's clutches, and that's enough to get our heroes into action. After She-Ra rescues her brother from what looks like a scene from 50 Shades of Grey, He-Man and She-Ra succeed in throwing Skeletor's ship off its course, punching the shit out of it.
As Spycar and Ratlaw explain, the automatic pilot has kicked in, which is now taking them back to Snake Mountain. Skeletor's not too pleased about this, so he chucks a parachute at Spycar and then ejects all his minions out of the ship. You knew this episode was special, since Skeletor usually just waves his fists in the air and says, "You blundering fools!" But here he's throwing parachutes at them and taking a page out of James Bond's playbook with installing some injector seats. I love Christmas.
As if Orko hasn't buggered things up enough for this episode, he decides to use his magic to get the ship to land safely. But he ends up taking the ship into outer space itself. He-Man and She-Ra follow the Sky Spy because apparently the power of Grayskull also includes surviving in the cold vacuum of space.
I'm afraid we've lost your Sky Spy.
Well, it's a good thing nobody's in it.
Well, no one that we care about anyway.
Orko eventually ends up on a different planet altogether that, whilst unfamiliar to him, is quite recognisable to us. Orko has landed on Earth. Oh no, is that bloody live-action He-Man film again, isn't it? Oh God, when's Dolph Lundgren turning up? Oh, and Courtney Cox.
Principal Strickland shows up with a shotgun. Holy shit, I need some backup. Well, sadly, neither Courtney Cox nor Dolph Lundgren and not even Principal Strickland are in this special, which is a shame, but immediately following this crash landing, Orko finds two kids lost in the snowy wilderness, about to become splattered by an avalanche. Luckily, Orko's magic actually works this time, and he's able to glide them to safety. And it's just as well, really, that his magic worked, otherwise this could have made for a very short episode.
So, the kids' names are Miguel and Alicia, so I'm guessing that Orko has ended up in Switzerland with names like that. They were out searching for a Christmas tree when they got lost. Now, that is a really, really hardcore Christmas tradition when you think about it. Never mind popping down to the shops to get a Christmas tree. Send your two kids out into the snowy wilderness on their own, where avalanches might happen, might be attacked by wolves, you know, could fall down some sort of giant crevasse. I don't know. And hang on a minute, wait a second. Are they actually expected to chop down a massive Christmas tree and haul it back home themselves?
Well, I mean, they don't seem to be carrying an axe with them. They've actually got to the point where they've chopped the tree down. I mean, fuck knows how they've done that. They've probably had to try and break it off with their bare hands. But yeah, is this some kind of weird, like, rite of passage? It's like, right, Miguel, take your younger sister out into the wilderness to bring her back a Christmas tree, and then when you come back, you'll be a man. And don't you dare come back empty-handed, otherwise you will be shunned from this house.
Yeah,
Never darken this doorstep again, you monster.
That's the Swiss for you.
Yep, they're really good at making clocks and watches, they're really good at making chocolate, and they're also really good at traumatising their kids. But as we'll see later on, these kids are actually quite good at handling a lot of stress because they've clearly grown up accustomed to it.
Absolutely.
But more on that in a moment.
Back on Eternia, everyone finally realises that Orko is missing after they find his spell book, which Queen Marlena claims that Orko is never without, which is interesting considering that he's never been seen before in the, 200 odd episodes of the programme.
Man at Arms manages to deduce that Orko must have been on board the Sky Spy and that the ship is now in distant space, so our heroes rush off to try and locate its coordinates.
Meanwhile, the kids are trying to explain this whole Christmas thing to Orko. Now, I'm not sure if that is the first topic that I would bring up upon meeting some sort of space alien, but Orko is pretty curious. They tell him about the presents, the overwhelming cheer, and the spirit of goodwill towards men. And then we get on to Bethlehem and the birth of Jesus.
After a lengthy process that results in a large video screen presenting a nonsensical but futuristic looking amount of alphanumerical digits, Man at Arms finds that Orko is indeed on Earth. Now, this is a serious problem. They have a dimensional portal machine that could bring Orko back to Eternia, but it's run on a power crystal that isn't found anywhere on Eternia.
So what the bloody hell was the point in building the fucking machine for then? There is a very, very strong argument that Man at Arms perhaps shouldn't have invented a dimensional portal machine that can only be powered by a rare crystal that's not even found on his home planet. My question there would be, how would Man at Arms know that the machine that is built can only be powered by this one crystal? Did he actually design it that way, that it would have to... No, I'm giving myself a headache. Let's just keep on going.
Has he actually tested it at any point?
How has he tested it? He can't test it. It's only powered by one crystal, one type of crystal that's not even on his own planet. He can't have tested this. This has not been through quality engineering.
There's a cut scene where they go, "Is this going to work, Man at Arms?" They'll just go, "I don't know." Fucked if I know, mate. So, luckily, Princess Adora is there to suggest that the ray crystal might be attainable.
It's not even certain.
Yeah. Might be attainable on her homeworld of Etheria. So she agrees to ask She-Ra for a little help. Once there, She-Ra enlists the help of her fishy friend, the Mister. And wow, even the girls that are half fish on Etheria are really, really pretty. I mean, what happened to you, merman? Great big horrible fish thing covered in scales. State of you, mate. Look at the fish people over in Etheria. Something's gone wrong with you.
Absolutely. It's like evolution gone mad.
A water crystal. Yes, I know where one is, She-Ra, but it will not be easy to get.
Mermister, the only character in this entire special that has a European accent, explains that the crystal can be found in the dangerous lake nearby, but she will need She-Ra's help since the lake is home to a terrible creature with a terribly uncreative name, the Beast Monster. Okay, was it 10 minutes before lunchtime when they came up with this now?
Right, come on. I know it's been a long meeting this morning, but we need to get this creature named before we're done. Come on, I need some names.
The Beast.
No, that seems a little generic to me.
The Monster?
That's even worse somehow.
What about the Beast Monster?
Hell yeah, meeting adjourned.
So, are you following this complicated story yet? We are doing our very, very best to explain that the transforming princess with the sword is asking a mermaid for help in finding a rare gem that will make a dimensional portal work so that the guy with a salad bowl on his head can teleport an alien magician that is stranded on Earth with 2 kids from Switzerland back home. Sweet Jesus, throw me a fucking bone here.
So, She-Ra arrives at the lair of the Beast Monster and is instantly surprised when it appears from under the water. Oh, this must be the lair of the Beast Monster. Oh, the Beast Monster! You knew that's where he lived, right? You were told that's the lair of the Beast Monster. You must have known that there was a strong chance that you would see him. That's like me walking into Luke's house and being surprised that Luke's here. Luke, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? In your house?
So, the Beast Monster, he wasn't really too much trouble, just a big bloody lizard, really. There's usually about 4 of those in an average episode of He-Man. Once She-Ra has the crystal, she thanks Mermister and prepares to head back to Eternia. But hang on a minute, huge robots should suddenly show up and trap She-Ra and her talking horse inside a huge glass bubble.
No, not bubbles. Oh God, in the name of humanity, not bubbles. Oh, these guys aren't messing around. But seriously, who are these mysterious new villains?
They're changing into other forms. What evil robots?
And why does She-Ra's talking horse sound like he's on 40 smokes a day? That shit ain't good for your lungs there, Swiftwind.
She-Ra and Swiftwind make a point to explain that these robots that can transform into other forms are evil. In other words, the makers of He-Man toys would like to make all kids aware that transforming robots are bad and you should stay away from them, okay? Especially if you're in Toys R Us.
Subliminal messaging. Transforming robots are bad, children.
Robots bad.
We're not saying that because we're losing out to them in the toy sales or anything like that.
Definitely not.
So, these large robots are called Monstroids. I'm not sure if they appeared previously on the show before the Christmas special, or even after that. But they were presented in a way that you would think that they're going to be some brand new villains introduced to the show. I don't think any action figures were ever made of these characters, so I guess that plan failed. They're not aligned with either Skeletor or Hordak, but it's clear they've got their own bad intentions.
She-Ra is able to escape the bubble of doom by breaking it with her sword and then doing a spinning roundhouse kick that Jackie Chan would have been proud of. She then makes it back to Eternia with the crystal. Finally, they are able to bring Orko home. But, whoops, they've also brought the kids back with them.
The kids make a passing comment of missing their parents and missing Christmas, but apart from that, they seem pretty okay with what's going on, especially when Queen Marlena, feeling a common bond with children from her own home planet, decides to turn Adam and Adora's birthday party into a big Christmas party.
Can't say a Christmas party, it was a gathering.
Right.
Can't say Christmas party, it was a gathering.
Were there more than 40 people there?
Yeah, there was cheese and wine, and somebody accidentally broke the stereo so it wouldn't actually shut off or anything like that.
And it was nothing but Christmas music.
Yeah, it was nothing but Christmas music. It wasn't a gathering, it wasn't a Christmas party, there wasn't any party games or anything like that, and yes, it was socially distant.
And unfortunately, the only refreshments they had were alcoholic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just goes to show there's no party like an S-Club party, unless, of course, it's a 10 Downing Street party. Ooh, a little bit of politics there.
Oops.
Move on. Going all Ben Elton on us there.
Yeah. I don't know if I would handle this situation so easily as these kids, especially since the first thing they see upon materialising in Eternia is loads of people standing around in furry underwear and a giant talking green tiger. But, you know, if we're making gingerbread cookies and handing up some tinsel, then I guess everything is okay.
Oh, these kids are incredibly tolerant to the amount of shit that's going on around them. And as we're about to see later on, it gets even worse.
Oh god, yes.
The action really starts to pick up when both Skeletor and Hordak are summoned by Horde Prime, who apparently is their supreme master and the most evilest being in the entire universe. Basically, he's a higher power that these two baddies both have to answer to. So essentially, this is Masters of the Universe's equivalent to Satan. Yes!
The Horde Prime has been greatly disturbed by the spirit of Christmas arriving in this part of the universe, and he orders both Skeletor and Hordak to seek it out and destroy it. Apparently the only thing that can stop his rise to power is the good feelings that everyone gets around the 25th of December. I mean, there's also He-Man and She-Ra as well, but, you know, whatever.
Horde Prime tells Skeletor and Hordak that whoever brings him the spirit of Christmas will be well rewarded. At least I think that's what he's trying to say. It does get a little difficult to tell what Horde Prime's saying. It's, I feel at some point we probably could have done with subtitles.
Yeah.
I mean, even Skeletor at this point's got a look on his face to go, I ain't got a fucking clue what you're saying, buddy.
What are you saying? I don't know.
I don't have lips and I can enunciate better than you. So what he's guaranteeing here is says, right, okay, whichever one of you two brings me the spirit of Christmas, you know, you'll become my number one, you'll be well rewarded. All he's guaranteed here is that rather than the two of them working together to please their master, Skeletor and Hordak are going to end up competing against each other. And the way these two villains argue, it's like they're the worst married couple possible, who just found out that they're going to be on opposing teams on a quiz night, and they're determined to make sure that the other person looks bad.
Later, the kids enjoy an absolutely terrible sing-song to the tune of this brand new Christmas song that Bo has just written. I think Bo needs to stick with firing arrows rather than writing lyrics, because this is probably the worst Christmas song performed since Justin Bieber and Busta Rhymes did a cover version of Little Drummer Boy.
Love and caring, peaceful bliss, joys of...
No. God, no. None of that.
This thing doesn't stay too sickly sweet for long, as Hordak shows up to catch them in a helicopter that looks, well, hang on a minute. What is that?
Well, Luke, it looks like a giant...
Dick!
Yeah?
Take a look out of starboard. Oh my god, it looks like a huge...
Pecker!
Oh, where?
Wait, that's not a woodpecker. It looks like someone's...
Privates! We have reports of an unidentified flying object! It is a long, smooth shaft, complete with 2 balls!
What is that? That looks just like an enormous...
Wang! Pay attention.
I was distracted by that enormous flying...
Willie? Yeah. What's that? Well, it looks like a giant...
Johnson. Yes, sir. Get on the horn to British intelligence and let them know about this.
Yes, General. We're right on it.
Who was that?
NORAD.
Hordak then uses a tractor beam to capture the kids, and then shoots this sticky white substance all over Bo, which I'm not even going to talk about any further because it's upsetting me.
Yeah, please don't. This scene is already dodgy enough. Hordak flies his robo-rod off to Horde Prime to deliver the Christmas kids to him personally, but he makes the error of flying past the location where the Monstroid robots that we saw earlier, and they grab Hordak's ship by the shaft.
What's going on?
Ooh! After a comical exchange where the Monstroids start producing more weaponry out of their shoulders than an NRA meeting, Hordak and his minions run away in a comical, somewhat ridiculous, Scooby-Doo type fashion. The Monstroids aren't fucking about here, and they'll happily take on Horde Prime as well if he shows up. So the Monstroids are so evil, they're not even going to turn the kids in for a reward with Horde Prime. They just want to have children in jail.
Yes.
What evil robots!
Whilst these Monstroids don't particularly hate the Christmas kids as much as Horde Prime does, they're still not very pleasant company. Miguel, Alicia and Orko are all thrown into a dark and dimly lit prison dungeon and left to either die or get so thin from starvation that they can actually fit through the bars and escape. Fortunately, there's some new friends to lend a helping hand.
Yes, the Manchines. Colourful little robots that look like a mix between characters on the 2 Star Wars cartoons that were popular throughout the 80s, droids and Ewoks. So it's safe to say that between these guys and the transforming robots that we saw earlier, that Mattel's been having a look at the test paper of their friend that sat next to him. What do you got?
Well, what are you doing? That looks good.
They don't call him Zipper for nothing.
After rescuing Orko and the Christmas kids and escaping the Monstroids, everything seems to be finally going our hero's way. That is until Skeletor finally shows up and decides to seize the opportunity to kidnap the kids himself. Skeletor rushes towards Horde Prime's lair to deliver the kids himself. She-Ra tries to stop him, but Skeletor trapped Swiftwind in some sort of rock formation.
Oh no! Oh no, poor Swiftwind. What a shame that he can't just fly out of there. Wait a minute?
Yeah, but then Hordak shows up again in a new ship and shoots down Skeletor to the snowy mountains. So now everyone's favourite skull-faced sociopath is faced with the prospect of getting these 2 children and a Manchine puppy to his master on foot. It has not been a good day for Skeletor so far. Within moments you'll notice that Skeletor is changing, the spirit of Christmas being so strong that even he is affected by it. He's almost cheerful. He even smiles at one point. He even has a magic spell handy to give the kids some sporty winter coats. Why? Why would he have a spell like that on standby?
Right, let's have a look. I've got my freeze ray, I've got my fire thing, I've got my lightning thing. Oh, and I better put in a spell to give people
winter coats.
Fashionable winter coats. You never know. Skeletor, what do you need a spell like that for? Quiet, beastman, or I'll cover my throne with your hide. Skeletor acknowledges his sudden change of heart, and whilst he doesn't know where it's coming from, he refuses to let it stop him from delivering these kids to Horde Prime. Still, it is quite a sight to see some glimmers of humanity coming from someone who is supposed to be pure evil. He even lets the kids keep the bloody machine puppy, and even carries it at one point. His name is Relay. Oh, and he's so cute, and he just loves licking Skeletor's face. I guess even robot dogs like bones.
And it carries on from there. Like Orko previously, Skeletor has a strange curiosity about Christmas and asks the children to explain its merry lore to him. So, not only is Skeletor playing with puppies, handing out free clothes to the needy. Now he's getting into the holiday spirit. All of this leads to some great lines from the villain as he tries to reassure the kids and himself that he's still a bad guy.
I am not nice, and I am not wonderful. Fights are fun. I like fights.
Right, so if you like fighting so much, Skeletor, and in particular you like fighting at Christmas so much, then please consider moving to Albert Square. Now, from what I've heard of that god-awful place, there's always guaranteed to be some sort of massive great big Barney around Christmas time.
Hordak makes one last ditch attempt of bringing the kids to Horde Prime himself by deflecting a blast from Skeletor's Havoc staff to knock his adversary out. As Hordak starts thinking about the juicy promotion that Horde Prime will give him for a job well done, He-Man and She-Ra finally show up and start battering Hordak's legions of Horde troopers.
Horde Prime's ship shows up above the kids and he's preparing to, well, actually I don't actually know what he's preparing to do. What is the plan here? Is he going to eat the kids? Turn them evil? Murder them? I've no idea whatsoever. But our graceful heroes are too far away and too distracted to stop whatever it is that's about to happen. And things are looking rather grim. Until...
I don't know what's happening to me. But I must save the children.
Skeletor is awakened by Relay licking his face, so apparently robotic dog saliva is the same as smelling salts. Skeletor, now uncharacteristically filled with Christmas cheer, blasts Horde Prime's ship with the full force of his Havoc staff, saving the children from the big robotic claw that was about to grab them. Then He-Man and She-Ra pick up Horde Prime's downed ship and lobs it off into space, where it's never heard from again.
And as for Hordak, well, we can only assume that he managed to get away in that helicopter that looks like a giant.
Penis, the male reproductive organ, also known as tallywhacker, schlong, or...
Wiener? Any of you kids want another wiener?
Dad, what's that?
I don't know, son, but it's got great, big...
Nuts! Hot, salty nuts! Who wants some? Lord almighty!
That looks just like my husband's.
One-eyed monster. Step right up and see the one-eyed monster.
Hey, what's that? It looks like a big...
Woody! Woody Harrelson? Can I have your autograph?
Sure, no problem. Oh, my lord. Look at that thing.
So big.
I've seen bigger. That's...
Just a little prick. Flu shot. Can't be too careful these days.
I didn't know you were a doctor.
Well, not that kind of doctor.
So the kids run up to Skeletor and hug him and thank him for saving them, which leads to this exasperated expression from He-Man where he's going,
Wait a minute.
What the fuck? He saved you?
Yeah, Skeletor really wonders why he's doing all of these nice things, and he doesn't feel too well, leading the heroes to explain to him that he must have been touched by all this Christmas stuff. However, Skeletor is relieved to find out that this only happens once a year, so no doubt he'd be doing something evil again come New Year's Eve, like forcing Beastman to eat glass or something.
So all of the goodies have a right good old laugh as we get a scene transition back to the pants of Eternia.
And Santa Adam gives the kids some anti-gravity belts for Christmas, before Man-at-Arms gets the trans-dimensional portal machine working to send the kids back home to Earth. And from looking at the dad's moustache, and hearing his accent, you can now understand why one of the kids was named Miguel.
The parents let it go very easily.
Where have you been? We've been so worried.
Oh, we went to another planet and met Orko. Then Santa Claus gave us some flying bells.
Oh, okay, we won't ask any more questions about that then. Good night!
What?
Can I also just say as well, what were the kids sent out for?
To get a Christmas tree.
What the kids not brought back?
They didn't bring the Christmas tree back.
They've got nice new winter coats, an anti-gravity belt, but
no fucking Christmas tree.
So, never mind. Okay, nice. No, I would have basically said, okay, that's fine. He brings from another planet. You've got all this. Where's the Christmas tree? Oh, we forgot to get the fuck back out there and get that fucking Christmas tree right now. I don't. What do you mean? I don't care if it's dark outside. No, I don't even care if wolves are outside as well. You went out for a Christmas tree, we send you out for a Christmas tree, and have you brought a Christmas tree back? Yes or no, Miguel? I don't care about the planet, I don't care that you saved your sister. Where is the tree? Have you brought a tree back? No, Miguel, you haven't.
hack out. Maybe that's in the extended director's cut.
Extended director's cut. Yeah.
We see the kids getting kicked out of the house again.
And don't come back until you've got a tree this time.
But of course,
I should have had the snip mouth.
So that doesn't happen. Instead, what happens is that the kids fly past their parents with their anti-gravity belts, and we get another wacky Scooby-Doo-like double take as our heroes say goodbye to the Earth kids. Adora pulls off Adam's beard because his best disguises work when he actually takes his clothes off rather than putting more clothes on, and Orko wishes us all a Merry Christmas as the special comes to an end. Which leads us to the point where we say in most episodes here of the show where myself and Luke will say, what have we watched here? What have we watched here? A lot of the more serious Masters of the Universe fans took issue with this Christmas special, feeling that Skeletor's actions completely killed off the idea behind his character. Personally, I couldn't give a shit if Skeletor decides that one day a year he's going to save children or play with puppies. He's still got a skull for a head, so he's going to look bloody evil no matter what he does. But at least he wasn't getting covered in boulders or being chased around Snake Mountain by a comet or getting his spaceship thrown into space by He-Man this week.
And it does seem like a lot of separate stories from unfinished episodes were just thrown together and then had Christmas sprinkled all over it. Yeah, before, basically, before calling it a day, cut that, print that, brilliant, let's get it out there. Yeah, there's far too many plot threads going on here. There's far too much going on. Orko goes missing, She-Ra getting the crystal, the Monstroids, the Manchines, the appearance of Horde Prime, Skeletor and Hordak competing against each other to impress their boss at work. I mean, all of these different things are all going on at the same time. But strangely, if there's one character that is absolutely central to this entire episode, it's Skeletor.
I don't think I feel well.
Well, I think you're feeling the Christmas spirit, Skeletor. It makes you feel good.
Well, I don't like to feel good. I like to feel evil. Oh.
Some He-Man fans might prefer the sort of more darker, more sinister version of Skeletor that we got in the comic books, or Mark Hamill's recent performance in Masters of the Universe Revelation. You know, that there's Frank Langella's wonderfully operatic depiction of the villain in the 1987 live-action movie. You know, tell me about the loneliness of good He-Man. Is it equal to the loneliness of evil? I mean, that's pure Macbeth.
That is genuinely Shakespearean. That is genuinely Shakespearean. Frank Langella is a really, really good actor, and if we do ever review Masters of the Universe as made by Canon Films, one of the really, really good things about that is Frank Langella.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't necessarily say that he took it completely seriously, but his performance was actually really, really good. So
he took it far more seriously. He sort of elevated that to a level far more than what was deserved for essentially a film adaptation of a cartoon series, which was of a toy. Yeah. But for me, despite those different versions of Skeletor, and let's not get started on the weird one from the New Adventures of He-Man.
No.
For me, it is Alan Oppenheimer's depiction of Skeletor in the Filmation cartoon that will always be my favourite depiction of this villain. Although he was enough of a threat for He-Man to take seriously, this Skeletor would often have his evil plans scuppered by either the fault of his own minions or by his own bungling and his own ego getting in the way. Never short of an insult or a sarcastic response, this Skeletor is by far one of the most memorable villains of the 80s, and even today is a massive pop culture icon. You'll see more t-shirts and memes and posters and funny stock pictures with Skeletor than you will He-Man.
And 1980s, we're talking what, 30, 40, almost 40 years now since, 40 years. 40 years since, the first appearance of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the cartoon. And out of all sort of 80s Saturday morning cartoons, He-Man is the one that we always look really more fondly on than any other. Well, we might sort of say, oh yeah, I like Thundercats back in the day, or Transformers. I mean, Transformers is probably, the top two would be He-Man and Transformers.
I mean, that's reflected by the amount of revivals that we had. You know, they tried to keep it going in the 90s, which didn't sort of work. Then they brought it back in 2002. They brought She-Ra back in 2018. This year alone, we've had 2 different sort of He-Man cartoons. We've had endless like documentaries and stories about it. It's clearly a franchise that a lot of people still have a lot of love for.
And you know, just really, really quickly going back to Revelations. You know, Revelations it being a direct sequel to the classic TV series, it did a really, really good job of keeping that going. And you know, when you know, even now when you sort of see the opening of the classic He-Man cartoon, it's like, oh, this is so good. Because let's be honest with you, it tells you everything you need to know. You know, basically, here's everything that you need to know. Now let's get on with the episode.
That's it. Just watching that intro straight away, you're transported back. You're in your mum and dad's living room. You're 5 years old again.
Yeah.
And you sat there, cross-legged on the floor, possibly a bowl of cereal in your hand. Your toys all around you, and it's the best moment of your life.
And it just and I think one of the really, really good things about Revelations was it managed to capture that. Unfortunately, it didn't quite get there with the movie from '87. I mean, there's far too many changes, but again, I think we might cover that one day soon.
That might have to be a story for another time.
Absolutely.
I think. In many ways, this was the ultimate Masters of the Universe episode. There are loads of characters appearing. It's a great story that crosses over 3 different planets, and we got such sights as Skeletor being the good guy for once, and Orko talking about Bethlehem and the 3 wise men. You can't ask for much more than that.
No, you can't really.
As a Christmas special, it actually holds up pretty well. It's still got all those same warm, fuzzy feelings and messages that you would normally get from a Christmas special, but it's a lot more fun when it's coming from Skeletor rather than Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I mean, how can you not get into a story that features appearances from a mermaid, Satan himself, and a giant flying robotic...
Boobs!
Boobs, Ozzy?
These filmmakers are just boobs.
What do you mean, Dad?
Well, they're using the same joke as they did in the last Austin Powers movie.
What joke?
You know, joke about the long, smooth rocket that looks like some guy's...
Johnson! No. The table's under the name of Murphy. Thank you.
Right, we'll make this brief because we are once again back within the love and embrace of Thor's TP. We couldn't do this last year. We've had a difficult 3rd season.
Yeah.
It's been that difficult that even Josh isn't on the beer tonight. Josh has had to settle for a hot chocolate.
Which, to be fair, I actually envy him having a hot chocolate because look at that, it's nice. Cream, marshmallows. Good for you, mate. Good for you.
But we've had a rare old time looking at the adventures of He-Man and She-Ra, and the very first Christmas in Eternia.
Yeah.
And
also their last Christmas in Eternia, which kind of says something about how Christmas went in Eternia. They had it once, it was a bit of a disaster, and they never had it again.
It did catch on. We've mentioned a few times of doing some other He-Man related videos. The film got mentioned, Revelations got mentioned, and who knows, we will probably deliver those in season 4. We will have to wait and see. It depends if we can meet up in the bunker, or if we have to work from home again. Whatever happens will happen. But yeah, until next time, this is the Big Daddy D, David Mabway.
Hi, Luke Murphy signing off. Josh, see you later. And we'll see you again.
We'll see you again soon. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Okay, Skeletor, we can do this. Feliz... No, that's not it. Feliz Navidad!